I decided to write my paper on the salary of teachers in the United States. I will argue that we don't pay teachers enough here in the United States because teaching is not seen as a high-standing career, being a teacher is hard work, and we currently have a shortage of teachers. The low salary is going to influence my life in the near future because I am currently studying elementary education and plan to become an elementary school teacher. I decided to direct my final paper to Frank Brogan, who is the Assistant Secretary of Elementary and Secondary Education. Mr. Brogan began his career as a fifth-grade elementary school teacher in Florida. He has held other positions working in the education department. He works directly with teachers, and he can understand how they are feeling and what they go through due to his experiences in their shoes. I personally am studying elementary education, which Mr. Brogan serves as secretary over. I'm sure with Mr. Brogan's experiences in the field and working with teachers, he is fully aware of this issue, but it's always helpful to get the opinion of someone who is or will be directly affected by it. Teaching in the United States is not seen as a high-standing career. Coughlin says teachers in China were compared to doctors. In the US, people compared teachers with librarians. This quote compares how China sees their teachers versus how the United States sees their teachers. I can relate to this because I have the great opportunity to teach Chinese students the English language over the internet. The students show their teachers so much respect and they genuinely appreciate their teachers. The parents are so kind and they truly see you as someone who is educated and they appreciate the work you do with their child. Education is such a big deal in other places like China, where here I feel as though sometimes teachers and education are taken for granted. I think that just paying teachers more and appreciating them would improve our education and the way our students learn. Teachers work hard. Teaching is more than a full-time job. Teachers spend all day at the school to then go home and do more work. They grade papers and prepare for the next day. Some teachers still struggle with money to the point that they then go to a second job. Will states nearly 1 in 5 public school teachers have second jobs during the school year. To think that teachers already work so hard at their teaching job and then go to a second job is so sad. I am a wife and a mother, as are most teachers. They have their job and their families. I can't imagine having to work 2 jobs to get by. It's hard enough already to balance your work life and your family life, and to add another job into that is nearly impossible. We should pay teachers enough so that they don't have to worry about another job on top of all the things they already do. Teachers would have the opportunity to spend all their time on their teaching job, and I feel it would improve the teaching and learning happening in the classroom. In the United States, we are facing a teacher shortage. We are not able to keep teachers in the field. Edwards says at least 17% leave the profession within the first 5 years. That is a lot of teachers leaving the profession after just a short amount of time. I don't even feel like that is enough time to get the job down. I feel as though this is because of teachers not realizing the work you have to put in for so little money. If we were able to pay teachers more, I think teachers would be more willing to continue teaching and they would feel that their work is paying off. Wong addresses salary increases may, however, prove to be an important tool in stabilizing the teaching force in the short term by sending the message to educators that the time and energy they sacrifice for their jobs aren't being taken for granted. Raising the salary for teachers, like Wong says, is a good start for making teachers feel appreciated and not feeling like they are being taken for granted. This would hopefully stabilize the teaching field and more teachers would have a desire to continue in the profession. People in different areas of the United States compare teacher salaries and argue that teachers do make enough money. Turner says when people, not just teachers and politicians, but reporters too, talk about average salaries, they often use numbers that haven't been adjusted for regional differences in cost of living. We cannot compare the salaries of teachers. In my paper, I used the example of me and my husband purchasing our house here in Utah. At the same time, my in-laws were purchasing a house in Georgia. Our houses are very similar, and my husband and I in Utah paid over $80,000 more than my in-laws did in Georgia because of the cost of living and them being so different. Every state has different costs of living, so to compare salaries of teachers in different states is an unfair representation of what teachers are being paid. People also argue that teachers do know what they are getting into when they decide to enter the profession. I personally, in my studies in education, have had the opportunity to sit in multiple classes of different grades to decide if education is what I really want to study. And until you are physically in the classroom or in the shoes of those teachers, I don't think that you can even begin to imagine the work that it takes to be a teacher. I don't think teachers know what they're getting into when they decide to enter the profession. And everyone knows that teachers aren't paid extremely well, but until you are in the classroom seeing all that it takes to be a teacher, you can't say that teachers know what they're getting into, because I truly don't think that you can know until you are in the field. Research by Allegretto and Michelle says, an effective teacher is the most important school-based determinant of education outcomes. Don't take advantage of our teachers. The work they do is beyond what they are being paid for. Teachers don't make enough money here in the United States, and we need to change this. Every doctor, every lawyer, and every pilot started their education in elementary school with remarkable teachers. Without them, we could not become who we are and accomplish the things we do in our lives. I really enjoyed doing the research on this topic. I think most people agree that this is an issue. So there was a lot of research and proof to agree with my argument that we don't pay teachers enough. The hard thing when doing my research was that I couldn't find a lot of counter arguments because most people do agree with the argument. I felt it was easy for me to write on this topic personally because I have a connection to it, and in just a few short years I'll be in the same situation as the teachers in the United States. I hope for change, and I hope to make people aware of the issues that teachers face with their salary when they decide to enter the profession. I know, like me, most teachers don't decide to teach because of the money, but it definitely makes life a lot easier. With the work it requires to be a teacher, they deserve to be paid for the hard work they do.